Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk to you about Heart of Dakota and Bigger Hearts for His Glory. This is Bigger Hearts for His Glory by Heart of Dakota and show you guys inside, and I want to show you all of the books and resources that we use with this guide. Let's go ahead and go on a tour of Bigger Hearts for His Glory together. This is Bigger Hearts for His Glory. This is what the guide looks like. In this guide, you're going to be able to teach your kids from 7 to 9 years old all the way to 10 to 11 years old. Now, if you haven't used Heart of Dakota before, you want to go ahead and scoot over to their website and look through the placement for these guides. Make sure that you have your child placed correctly in Heart of Dakota, because that will make a huge difference in how your year goes. Once you get your guide for Bigger Hearts for His Glory, you want to make sure that you read the information at the front of your guide. You have your table of contents, and then you get right into your introduction. These pages are really important to read through. This is going to tell you about all of the components that you're going to see throughout your year with Bigger Hearts for His Glory. In this introduction, you're also going to have all of the resources laid out for you that you're going to need for the year, and it's also going to tell you what kind of materials that you're going to need, such as notebooks, binder, index cards, just the things that you're going to need in general for these different components that you're going to be working through for the year. Next, you'll get to flip right into your daily plans. These are your daily lesson plans with Heart of Dakota. Everything that you're going to need to do for the day is right here on these 2 pages. It's really easy to go through these. It's really well laid out. They have key ideas in each of these boxes that helps tie everything together, and it just ends up being such a beautiful day. This takes about 3.5 hours to do with your kids each day. Let me go through this with you, and I'm going to start on this side. This page brings you through your learning through history. And this page over here brings you through your learning the basics, and your science is included over here. For history, the kids are going to be doing American history, and they're actually going to be learning American history from the 1500s all the way to the 1970s, and they're going to be approaching it through biographies. It introduces your kids to American heroes. So they're going to be learning about the people that made our nation, not just the events and places, but they're going to be actually learning about the people. And here are the books that go along with the history that you're going to need. Stories of Great Americans for Little Americans, and a first book in American history. You'll also need The Wright Brothers and Their Sister, and Journeys in Time, a new atlas of American history. And these are all such great books. I'll give you just a quick glimpse inside some of these. And this one is a lot of fun. My kids really enjoy this book because they get to kind of hear a story and follow along as I name these different numbers, and they'll follow along the course, the track, the trail, whatever it is. And then this one is I think this is the last book that you actually read for the year. So this doesn't have so many pictures in it. It's more just you read this aloud to your child, and they'll sit by you on the couch, and it's just a sweet time. My kids really love doing this. We like to sit on the couch and snuggle up and read through these. Now, these books, I believe these 2 and maybe this one as well, are actually written a long time ago. These are older books, so there is some older language in these books, and you'll just want to be aware of that going into it. There are some pictures in this one. I just happen to be missing like every page with a picture, I think. These are really sweet stories. I love this. It's really interesting to read these older books because you get a closer look at things that maybe aren't noticed in the newer books that are written, because these were written closer to the time period that they actually happened. There's some really great stories in here. So that's just a quick look inside of those books. And you're going to come across those books all in this box right here that says Reading About History. Now, the history has a lot of things that tie into it, which is really wonderful. You have poetry. Poetry is done every day, and each day there's a different focus on the poem that they're reading. And then Bible study is also done every day, but Bible is it's broken up into kind of 3 components. You have your scripture memory that they're working on every day, and then there is a character quality that they're learning about each unit that ties into their history. And there is also a devotion that they do once a week. And this is the book that the devotions come from. You don't go straight through this book. It's actually, it's tied into the history, so you actually jump around a little bit. It's so it ties in with the history as well as the character trait. And it is such a sweet little devotional book. This is also one that was written a long time ago, and it is near and dear to my heart. It's really cute. We've enjoyed this. There's also a music study. And the music component comes from this book, Hymns for a Kid's Heart. This is a really special book too, because it's not just the hymn that they're learning, but they're learning the story behind it as well. So as they're learning about, this is my father's world, they'll read this story, and then they'll be able to see the music and learn the words as well. And this is a fun enrichment. So if music really isn't your thing, then you can go ahead and skip this. But personally, if you can work it in, this is just a wonderful little extra thing that you get to do with your kids. And my kids have really enjoyed these hymns as well, and learning the stories. I have enjoyed learning the stories along with my kids. And then you have this box here that changes each day. So this whole program is done in 34 units. Each unit is about a week. So you have 5 days per unit, 34 units, which makes up your whole year. So each unit, those 5 days, this box is going to change each time. So for the first day of the unit, you're going to have an artistic expression. You're going to work on some kind of art. And then the next day is vocabulary, and your kids are going to actually get to look up vocabulary words from what they're reading. You can either have them look it up, you'll teach them to look it up in a dictionary, and they can write out vocabulary cards. And then the next day is a history activity. And then they also have notebooking and timeline that they do on the last day of the unit. The last day of the unit is also when you will read some scripture that ties into your character, your memory verse, and your devotion for the week. So you'll actually get out your Bibles and read this. And my boys like to actually learn to look up these scriptures as we've been going through this program. They have their own Bibles with their school stuff, so they will get out their Bibles and they will find this passage, we'll read it together, and sometimes they like to highlight it too, so they can kind of save it for later. Now let's talk about this learning the basics side. We'll go back to day 1. Okay, so for learning the basics, you actually have some choices with the program here. You have some choices when it comes to language arts, math, and reading. And then you can also choose whether you want to do Heart of Dakota's science, or you can choose something else for science and just ignore this science exploration box. I recommend the science. I think it is a wonderfully done science program. It's literature based, so they will read through several books, and I'll show you the books. These are the science books. We have Thomas A. Edison, Young Inventor, John Audubon, Young Naturalist, A Pioneer Sampler, Science in Colonial America, One Small Square Woods, and One Small Square Seashore. These also tie back into the history loosely as well. When they're learning about the seafaring explorers, they also get to learn about the seashore. And then when they are learning about the colonies, they'll get to learn about the science in colonial America. When they're talking about the kind of westward pioneers, you get to learn about the pioneers and a pioneer sampler. And this is a wonderful story. Also, they're going to talk about John Audubon, and they get to read this for science as a science connection. They'll get to read about how he was a young boy and how he drew birds from the time he was very little, and you take this whole adventure with him as a child. And this has been a really special book too. And then you have Thomas Edison as you get closer to modern history that the kids get to learn about. Okay, so each of the science books ties back into the history that they're reading loosely, and it's really a neat way to do science. Science also has days that they'll just be reading and orally narrating, and this teaches you how to do oral narration. Heart of Dakota is very good about telling you exactly what to do, so you are able to teach your child well. They don't just leave you to try to figure it out or make you have to go look it up on your own to understand how something is supposed to be done. So they'll do some reading and some narration. They'll do some notebook assignments. There's some science experiments that they do, and any materials you'll need for the experiments, you are most likely already going to have in your house. This is nothing complicated, and it's usually a lot of fun. And then you'll have some more reading that they'll do, and they will narrate to you through the end of the week. So reading and notebooking, and they'll have some experiments to do in science. Let's talk about the language arts box next. So for language arts, you have cursive, you have English, and you have spelling or dictation that the kids do. So first, every day they're going to do some cursive, and this is the suggested cursive from Heart of Dakota. You don't have to use their cursive option. You can use something else if you'd prefer. They suggest tearful cursive, which is what this is, or this italic D. So if you've used Heart of Dakota before, in the guide before this one, Beyond Little Hearts for His Glory, one of the options for handwriting is this italic series. So if you've been doing the italic series, you probably just want to continue by using italic D, which is the cursive option for that program. Or you can do this tearful cursive. And I'll just show you inside of this just to give you an idea. It's really cute. They have these characters that help them learn cursive writing. Very first day, this is the page they do. And there's not even any writing here. It's just an introduction to the cursive program and the characters that are going to help them learn cursive. Ski, Loopy, Surfer Sam, Bumps, Wags. These are really fun characters, and you'll see them pop up as they start to learn how to write these different letters. So you have Ski here. He goes up and he goes down, and he's kicking a ball up here. I read this part to my kids, and then I let them do the portion that they're supposed to do for the day. Their first lesson, they just do that lesson 1, which I already showed you. Their second one, they'll do page 2, which is this right here. And then the next day, I'll do page 3, which is this one here. So there's not a whole lot for them to do. It's just practicing first I have them do this part with their finger. And then they take their pencil and they keep inside of these lines here. And then they get to do it on their own. And then last, they get to find the I's within this sentence. There's the same pattern throughout this book. And then there's times when they get to practice some of the words they've already written. This is the alphabet. They're filling in the blanks for the letters they know. Here's one of those practice pages where they get to practice writing these words in cursive because they've now learned all of those letters. It's a fun program, and it's really easy. The kids can do this in just a couple of minutes. My boys especially have enjoyed these characters when they learn cursive. So that's the cursive option, and that takes just a couple of minutes each day. And then you'll go into your English option, which we have Beginning Wisely, which is English 3. You can either use English 2 or English 3. They're by Rod and Staff. And this program is such a good program. It's not flashy. It's really simple, black and white pages. The lessons are short, and Heart of Dakota actually has you do this mostly out loud to keep the lessons short. And then when we have written work, we'll actually do most of the written work out loud, and then we'll just write 1 or 2 pieces on our whiteboards. And that keeps the writing down, so my boys are happy. And it keeps our lesson time down. And I really like this program. It's thorough, and there's no fluff. It's really just straight to the point, a really good English lesson. And then when we do this, we'll sit on the couch usually, and I'll have my book, the teacher book, open. And the teacher book has the same page that the kids have. And then you have some extra teacher notes. You'll have the answers and you'll have some extra teacher notes that go along with whatever you're working on. And the kids will have their book open in their lap. It only takes a few minutes to do it that way. It's thorough and it's just such a good program. And then the last part of the language arts box is this spelling or dictation. And that's only done 3 days a week. In the appendix, you'll find the spelling lists. So you have your instructions for the spelling words up here, and then you'll go through this list. So each unit has 10 words that they're learning, and they'll have different activities that they do to help them learn these words. And then the next unit, they'll switch to the next list of words. Since I've done this program a couple of times, I actually have the list here. Spelling words in Beyond Little Hearts for His Glory, which is the guide before this one. And in that guide, you have a list 1 and list 2 to choose from. In this guide, Bigger Hearts, you only have list 2 from Beyond. So it's the same list in this book as list 2 is in the book before this. So I already made up cards for these for my kids to use. And I just went ahead and did this on the computer and cut them out one day because I've had multiple kids go through this already. So if I have one child that needs to do the spelling list, I have the words here for them to use. And then if they've already gone through all of these words and they know them well, they can move up to doing the dictation passages. And you want to go ahead and read the instructions for how to do this, but I'll walk you through how I do it with my kids real quick. So they're going to need their own lined notebook. Something like a composition notebook works well. And then they'll start by studying this by looking at it. They're going to look at it first and they're going to read through it and they're going to notice the spelling of the words, the punctuation marks, the capitals. And then after like 30 seconds, you're going to take this away from them so they can't see it anymore. And they're going to be ready to write in their composition notebook or whatever lined notebook they have. And you will read this out loud to them one part at a time. So I would probably read this whole sentence. I'd say, Sue has a bird. And then I'd wait for them to repeat it to me. They would say, Sue has a bird. And then I would wait for them to write it out. And then after that, we'll come back and I'll say, it can call and sing. And they would repeat after me, it can call and sing. And then they would write it down. And then we go over the 3 words, king, ring, wing. I'd probably do them one at a time. I'd say king and let them say king, and then they'd write it down. And we'd finish up the other 2 words the same way. Now after that, I would go ahead and read this out loud to them one last time so they can read over what they've just written and make sure that it all sounds and looks right. And then when they think they're ready, I'll hand this book to them and they can look and see if they made any mistakes. They are checking their own work here, and I can look at it with them and point out anything if they miss it, but that's important that they check their own work here because they're going to be checking their own work as they go through the levels of this dictation, and it will get gradually more difficult as you go along. And that is it for the language arts box. Next is math. So for the math box, you have a couple of choices. You can either use Singapore math. This is the Singapore, and it's not dimensions. Make sure you get the US edition. It's Singapore Primary Mathematics US edition. And this is written to go along with 2A and 2B. And there are activities that are written in here as well. So you're not just using the textbook and workbook, but you're doing these activities as well, which makes this more of a hands-on math curriculum that way. Or you can choose something else, and they've just started offering Math with Confidence. I think it's the level 2 for this, but this is a Math with Confidence I happen to have. Or you can use Apologia Math, or you can just use your own math, whatever math that you prefer for your kids. And then next, I want to talk about the reading choices. You can choose to do an emerging reader set or drawn into the heart of reading, depending on the reading level of your child. For us, doing this guide, we've always been in the emerging readers set. So I'm going to go ahead and show you those. I'm not going to go over them too much in depth. I'll do that in another video, but I will show you those books real quick. So these are the Emerging Reader Set schedule books. You have Emerging Reader Set 1, Emerging Reader Set 2, and they actually come with these neat little sticker charts. So this is the one for Set 2, and as they read their books and they finish them, they're able to put stickers on this path, and the path leads up to the castle for this one. For Set 1, you're going to get all of these books. Your child's going to read through each of these books as they follow the schedule. And this is Set 2. I think this is all of Set 2. I might have some things mixed in here that aren't Set 2, but I think that this is all of it actually. So there's so many good books that they get to read in this Set 2. For Set 2, you have all of these books right here. And you can find these on Heart of Dakota on their website. And then Set 1, I'll show you that same page so you can see which books they are. And again, it's on the Heart of Dakota webpage, their website. You can buy these books as a package. Those are all of the Emerging Reader books. There's lots of them, and they slowly read through these with you. A really fun experience for me and my kids that have gone through these books. That was the reading box, and then next is the story time box. This is the last one I'm gonna go over, and it's the one that we typically do at bedtime with my kids at my house because I do multiple guides at once, and we just end up fitting it in easiest at bedtime. So let me show you those books. And you have a choice when it comes to the Storytime books. On their website, you can choose between the girl interest books, the boy interest books, or the classic titles. And what I like to do, I have all of these because I've gone through this a couple of times, once with my girls, once with my boys. I usually actually do a mixture of the classic read alouds, and then I choose the ones that we think we would like to read from the other titles. These are all wonderful books. The Storytime books, I think, are one of our favorite parts of Heart of Dakota. We love to snuggle up at bedtime and read our stories. It has been so good for my kids and for myself. And over the years, I have become better at reading out loud. If you're hesitant to do this because you're going to be reading out loud, just give it a try. When I first started reading out loud to my kids, I actually struggled a little bit. But over the years, as I've been reading aloud to them, I've gotten better at it, and they have become better listeners. And if you're going to do something like that, like working on your own ability to read out loud as an adult, there's no one that you could do it with better than your own kids, because they are not going to fault you if you mess up a little bit. They are very forgiving, and it's just such a good, rich family time to be able to do this stuff together. So I would not skip this for anything. We still read these books even in the summertime often, and many times we will get ahead of what our guide actually tells us to do for our story time, and we'll read extra books. That's why another reason why I have all of these book packs. We just love our read alouds. And this one in particular is actually also one of the extension books that I am getting ready to read with my boys when we start off our year this year. And we are looking forward to it. That is Bigger Hearts for His Glory. There is an extension package also, and maybe I will share those in another video if you're interested. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I will do my best to answer them. If you have any questions about any of these books in particular, we have read through most of them, so feel free to ask, and I will let you know all about it. Let me just go ahead and show you inside my boys' binders just to give you an example of what their work looks like, and then I will wrap up this video for today. These are my boys' binders from last year. This is the sticker chart for Emerging Reader Set 1 that my son has been working through. He's read a few of the books, and I've got the stickers here. This is just a clear page protector that we keep this in the front of his binder. They're keeping their vocabulary cards in this little pocket in the front of their binder. I'll show you some of those. So here are his vocabulary cards. Imposter. So they just, oh, this is one of the memory verses. So those are just some of them. I have this divided out to have dividers for history, timeline, science, and then I have 2 blank ones back here just because we had extras. So they're history notebooking pages. This comes straight from Heart of Dakota. And I'll show you a couple of his pages. Not all of them have been finished, but they will trace the route that explorers took. This one was for Cabot. And then here they got to do some labeling of the map. And they made a little acrostic poem here. This was some more, my son got a little fancy with this one. That's not exactly how the route goes. But this is more of tracing the route. And we actually did do this unit, but we didn't get really to this notebooking page, unfortunately. I had them do just a couple, but it wasn't done really well, but that's okay. Sometimes life happens and we don't get to things. Let me skip and show you the timeline. Oh, his timeline's not here. It's in the back. So here's his timeline. And this is also from Heart of Dakota. And it comes in several pages that you actually just tape together. And then the whole thing you can put on a wall if you want to. Kind of like a giant poster. And this is what we have worked on so far. We're not finished with this curriculum yet, keep in mind. But these are the things that he has put on his timeline so far. I don't know why he stopped using color on those ones. And then, I'm gonna put this back in our timeline spot. We just kind of keep this stuck in here. And then for science, they make their own little notebook pages. And these are some of the ones that he's done. This has been a lot of fun. I like to see what they come up with when they do these pages too. These are just some extra things from projects and other activities that we've done during the year. So some of this was actually from their guide and some of it might just be pictures that he made because he wanted to. So this, at one point, they get to make up their own invention. And this was his invention. This is The Way by Marcus. There's a robot that does his math while he sleeps. That was his invention. My older son, now this is my boy that does not like to color anything. Actually, I don't even think he made this. I think he had the idea and he had his sister draw it for him. So when you see his timeline and stuff, it's not gonna have pretty color. So he's a bit further in the emerging readers. And here's some of his cards. They didn't all end up in here, unfortunately. Sometimes they got scattered. But here's some of his vocabulary cards, and that was a Bible verse that we got to write down. Trinket, caravan, imposter. Of course, they think of the game. If your kids know that game, I can't even think of what it's called right now. Among Us, I think. And here's his stickers and his chart. And he actually already, and I didn't put this one in a page protector. And I learned my lesson because it's not, my kids are a little rough with their binders. So that's why I put his brother's in the page protector. And I'll probably move his into a page protector. And then his history notebooking pages are here. Again, some of them we didn't get to. And then, I don't know, my boys just, they weren't so great at following the directions. They wanted to make their own path. And then we talked about why this wouldn't have been a good path for the explorers after they did this. And then his acrostic, and we have, I think he did better on this one. And again, we just didn't get to these pages. And we're a little bit behind on filling out our notebooking pages. But this year, I am determined we're going to do better about filling out our notebook pages because it's so good for them to get that used to doing that notebooking. So that is a goal of mine this year. And last year was a little bit difficult for us. We had a lot of interruptions, which is one reason that we didn't finish this curriculum in a year because we had my mom move in with us who was diagnosed with ALS, and I became her full-time caregiver, and we said goodbye to her this past year. So we took a lot of time to just do things more slowly, and it was just one of those years that we had to make way for life situations, and that was a lot of learning for them as well. So here's his science pages. Looks like he didn't finish that one. Guess, I don't know. We're gonna work on that. That's okay, that's an answer too. And then we did the experiment. They enjoyed these experiments that we did. He actually made color on these ones. That's amazing. He is not my kid who likes to color. But when he does do it, he does a really good job. Here's his timeline, and his is actually been added in. So there's some of the things he's done. No color, almost no color. He does such a good job though. He really takes his time when he's adding things, and he writes really nicely. He just doesn't like to add color. So that's what he's gotten in here. And then some of his activities that we've put in. This object map, that was pretty cool when they did that. They got to look down on it and draw it. And then this is his invention, and he made up, I guess it's kind of like the same idea as the lightning hitting the lightning rod, but he wanted his invention to be that lightning hitting the lightning rod would power up like some kind of generator that makes everything work. So all new light switch. It's a special light switch, I guess. So that was his invention. And those are just a few examples from my boys doing this guide. I hope that was helpful for you guys. We are going to continue this coming year and finish this out. And perhaps I will do another video just to update you and show you the finished product of everything. Thanks for joining me today, guys, as we looked at Bigger Hearts for His Glory. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them below. I will see you next time.